Just to give you a few fast facts around EOH and our growth over the last 18 years. We listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in 1998. We can now proudly call ourselves a leader in technology and knowledge services. And as at yesterday, we had in excess of 12,000 people working for the group. We've now got to a point where 134 locations and over 50 countries in Africa and internationally are serviced by us. We have end-to-end offerings as requested and demanded by our clients, and those clients number now in excess of 5,000 of the top companies, both in South Africa, Africa, and internationally. We remain a level 2 BEE enterprise solutions provider, and as many of you will have heard on Radio 702, combined with the EOH Job Creation Challenge, we believe it's important to go beyond just what we do in business and be a genuine force for good in society.
If we look at, in today's age, everything is moving into the digital world. From digital marketplaces through to customer services, through to employee self-services, through to the enterprise services. Analytics, information, and the technology. The technology now is on your cell phone, on your PDA, on your device anywhere, anytime. And we are helping our customers to transform their technology and their platforms to enable their customers. And this is a big driver of ours, very, very successful. Here in South Africa and Africa, where we have transformed our customers' world into this digital era that we are living in today. If we look at our service offerings from an ICT perspective, we start with the advisory, giving our customers the advice and guidance on their technology, on how we can help their customers. If we start at the top, we've got the BI and analytics, using products like ClickView, Cognos, enterprise resource planning. Those are the traditional systems that companies have implemented over the years where we support and maintain into customized applications. We've got the largest number of developers here in Africa developing solutions for our customers. The infrastructure hardware game, we've seen moving into the cloud, more of the managed services, the networks and the unified communications. Again, the digital platforms to underpin that and to connect everybody, you need unified communications, and we have a business that delivers that to our customers. And the IT management and optimization through one of the vendor partners that we represent here in South Africa, Computer Associates. So from our perspective, it is an end-to-end offering that we deliver for our customers, and either that on an on-premise, on a software service basis, or in a managed services from an end-to-end perspective.
In terms of industrial technologies today, we're an organization with a broad portfolio, very much about taking technology, engineering, and integrating that into our customers' environments, and ultimately driven by our overall EOH purpose of having solutions and technologies that are relevant to the needs and the demands of our customers and the societies within which we serve. So the portfolio is a pretty comprehensive portfolio. It's a broad portfolio across a multitude firstly, a multitude of industries, and then a multitude across a whole host of disciplines with, I guess, high degrees of specialization on the one hand and deep levels of expertise on the other. So in some specific industries, we have what we call industry-specific solutions and technologies which are geared and oriented specifically to those industries. So to give you some examples, in the telecoms industry, it's all about enabling broadband infrastructure from microwave backhaul to fiber infrastructure, wireless networks, to enable us as citizens, as organizations, to access the internet and the broader world out there, but ultimately the key enabler for digitalization and the digital economy. Looking towards the future and our growth drivers from an industrial technologies perspective, there are a whole host of areas that we see some significant growth in the market, all again underpinned by those big trends we talked about earlier. And in order to leverage these growth areas within the market, we've created some growth enablers within our organization. all underpinned by our philosophy of right first time, creating the ethos as well as the philosophy. But the key thing is ultimately to enable a consistent customer experience all the way from the way we sell to our customers, ultimately all the way into how and what we deliver to our customers, ultimately about meeting and exceeding their expectations of us.
We all know that business process outsourcing or knowledge process outsourcing is all about outsourcing customer support services. These are the traditional cost centers in the business, so HR, legal, finance, admin. But then there's a second area, which is the area that we really excel in. It's where an industry needs a solution and it's not cost effective for them to provide it as a single industry or customer solution. So we do a lot of work in the medical aid industry around claims and claims management, where the chunkiness and the bulkness of the investment is just too big for a single service provider to play in it. The benefits to our customers are most of the time around effectiveness and efficiency. So real improvement in processes, real cost savings on the bottom line, but it's also then sometimes looking at handling bulk data. We find that there's a lot of information around in the organization, and Brian will speak a little bit about data and information in the industry, but it is utilizing that to make better decisions for our customers. And as per usual, I think we like fragmented markets. We like areas that we can dominate and we can be strong in. The areas of operation for us is still healthcare. It's a very strong area for us that we're operating in. Our human capital business is really growing fast. It's a large business for us. And our customer services outsourcing business has really grown nicely over the last 2 years.
Our role in public sector has certainly evolved significantly. I think historically, the services that we provided were more plumbing type services. We looked after all of the pipes and the devices within the infrastructure of our public sector customers. But since the growth of our capabilities and new businesses that have joined us, we really have exciting offerings that we provide to the public sector. And so much so that we have a complete division that focuses on understanding the challenges that government has, be it national, provincial, or local, and putting together technology-based solutions to solve those problems. You guys have developed a unique platform which is based on world-class technology, but really customized based on our in-depth understanding of how government operates, and really focusing on the key functions of government, be it municipal, be it grants management, social services, tax and revenue, healthcare, and obviously infrastructure and asset management. I think what makes us unique and what makes the platform unique is that there's an in-depth knowledge. We've got guys who are involved in public sector. We're not coming from a pure technology perspective, but really using our skills and using technology to solve the challenges that are faced by government and helping them in terms of modernizing and improving the service delivery. What's interesting for us is just the similar challenges that we find in other African countries. So while we're building IP and providing solutions in South Africa, the demand is much greater, and therefore it's a very exciting space for EOH in terms of the future as well as in terms of the financial opportunity, but really also in terms of making a difference in the African continent.
So as we have it today, EOH is now physically present in 21 countries internationally. I have to stress these countries are not just distributor companies, but rather on-site presence of EOH people, EOH companies, and I guess a full engine of EOH delivery in terms of pre-sales, sales, and then after-sales delivery as well. In terms of the principles we followed in terms of building EOH Middle East and Africa, in terms of where we are, I think the big point to make here is that we are focused on countries and geographies that have relevant developmental challenges like we do in South Africa. So as you can see, a lot of the countries that I put up previously are probably at a similar developmental stage to us here. And I think ultimately what that allows us to do is to develop our own product solutions, some of which you've seen today, which we've tested in a developing world context, and hence makes our solutions highly relevant for those geographies we're basically entering into. I think Zuneri has spoken about the massive infrastructure spend that we're seeing in South Africa, and I think this trend we're seeing throughout the emerging market world, and hence the solutions that you've seen today we're finding are highly relevant to our expansion into these like geographies. We find a number of multinationals that are currently focused in the emerging market world, and certainly EOH is now partnering up with them and providing them critical IT and other business solutions and services globally. I think we're in a pretty unique position as EOH in that there aren't many ICT companies globally that are servicing that specific niche. Government, as you know, is certainly a huge area of, these emerging countries, and I think certainly as EOH we're working with a number of governments now, both in Middle East, Africa, in terms of providing critical solutions in terms of moving forward society on one level, but I think also being able to enhance citizen services. Obviously, there isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of scenario. Each country has its own particular development requirements, its own particular nuances, which we need to take into account in terms of building. But I think what's clear from this picture is that there's a very focused view in terms of what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to build outside South Africa. And I think central to that is going to be our own IP, our own solutions, which we think creates a significant differentiator for us in the market.
In terms of information services, we're trying to do two things. One is to provide knowledge as a service through our own content, delivering it to customers on a monthly or on an as-needed basis, and delivering relevant information they can take decisions with. The second thing is companies that got huge amount of data that they can't make sense of themselves. And using our range of technologies, we can do it to solve particular problems, and we can actually do it as a service or do it on an individual project basis. What we like to do is own our own content. So the more content we can bring to bear, the more we can customize the solutions that we bring out into the marketplace. The word big data is thrown around everywhere. And it is big just because there's loads of it. There really is packs and packs of data. And when we talk about doing something about data, we talk about being able to process it, being able to store it, applying advanced analytics to it, and taking some really clever decisions. I'm going to quickly talk to you about EOH's international software IP. Where this is different to what Ibrahim was talking about is here we're talking about licensing our software on a worldwide basis. We've got brilliant software. There is no question about it. We compete head-on with all the international players, both here and abroad, and we win an awful lot. We've got software that runs governments, that runs banks, that runs HR systems. We're actually building most of the world with our construction software, and it's actually really, really exciting. So we've got great stuff. I've always said to people 90% of sales is just showing up. So what we're trying to do is show up more often and show up in more countries. And what we're really looking at doing is creating a model that can be a distributorship in a box. Whereas we can distribute our own software easily, or we can hook up with systems integrators, or hook up with other distributors to give us a presence in the various markets. And currently, over and above what we've got in terms of Ibrahim's ecosystem in MIA, and the fact that we're using that ecosystem in terms of distributorships, we now got presence in these countries where we are selling our software with feet on the ground.
So if you look at our results, you know what we do now. So, and as of earlier this morning, you know exactly how we did. So we've had a great increase in revenue. We're up 30%. And that's across all different divisions of EOH. It's not focused in one particular area. It's across all the different technology areas of EOH and BPO. And what's pleasing about the revenue results is that more than 70%, in fact 77% of our revenue comes from services. And 60% of that revenue and the growth in revenue was organic growth and 40% acquisitive growth. In line with that, we've also seen the profit after tax growing at the same sort of rates, in fact slightly higher in this particular case. And the earnings per share, despite the fact that we issue shares to new joiners, at a very, very respectable 25% in both earnings per share and headline earnings per share. And someone asked me just as I came in, what are we going to do with all this cash? 1.9 billion. Well, it's not enough cash. If anyone knows me, king is cash, cash is king. We need lots of cash. There can never be too much cash. We have lots to do with that cash. So the graph, it's not a one-year wonder. It's not something that has just happened in the last 6 months. It's not something that's happened in the last 2 years. It's something that's happened since inception. And this is a lovely textbook type graph, and we expect to continue it to grow in the same sort of rates in the years to come. So a very, very nice graph to share. And the headline earnings are not sacrificed in terms of that growth. So we don't buy growth from an EOH point of view. So just where does it all come from? It's come from all parts of EOH, and I haven't actually put the number on the slide, but 9.8 billion rands worth of our 12.7 billion rands worth of revenue is from services. That's people, that's knowledgeable people, and we operate in the very high end. And you'll see that all our areas have grown within EOH, and the smallest area in the EOH is the IT infrastructure side, and that's really something which we do need as part of our solution stack in providing solutions to our clients. So let's just go into some of the numbers. The results are pleasing overall, particularly in this state of the economy. You'll see the finance costs have increased a bit. Yes, that's in line with our strategy to borrow some medium-term funding for some of the new joiners, and obviously our expansion into Africa and the Middle East. We have, in terms of our de-risking policy, make sure that we don't take big gambles in terms of Africa. We have 50% joint ventures in Africa, and you'll see that we've equity accounted those profits. So our turnover is 12.7 billion. You can add another 600 million onto that just from the revenue for the last 6 months in terms of what we've done in Africa. So if we had to consolidate, that number would even be bigger. Earnings per share, I've basically given you the numbers, but 25% up in both cases, and we're going to have a dividend of 185 cents, which is basically about 4 times cover. So the balance sheet. Well, the balance sheet reflects our activity. There's nothing unusual about the balance sheet. Goodwill and intangibles is up. We've spent over 2 billion rands this year in terms of businesses joining EOH. Half cash, half shares in terms of the normal model, about a third up front, and the rest is based on an earn-out basis, and we've had very, very good results in terms of that. As far as debtors, and I'm always asked about debtors and why debtors is so high, sitting at 3.6 billion compared to 2.3 billion. Well, in that figure is what we call work in progress, which is basically a contract on the big technology contracts that we have in the infrastructure areas of about 800 million. But you'd expect debtors to be high. In fact, I wouldn't want debtors to be low because it means we wouldn't be doing great business or doing business at all. Debtors' days are very much as they were last year, maybe a little bit higher, a day or two higher, but that's completely under control. If we look at the other side of the balance sheet, the biggest change here is obviously some of the borrowings that we've made in terms from the bank point of view, and obviously the money that we owe to our vendors for obviously the good work that they're doing. So you will see that other financial liabilities, both long-term and short-term, are up, throughout, and that's good. And that's good. It's part of what we do. Acquisitions, new business joiners is part of what EOH does as part of our own philosophy. As far as the cash flow statement is concerned, I'm not going to go through it in great detail. Yes, we do pay a lot of tax. The tax rate is slightly higher than it was in previous years, but we do pay a lot of tax, and I suppose that's good from a country point of view. And the investing activities is really in the new acquisitions that we're making, in the new joiners, and obviously investing in property, plant, and equipment. And the financing activities, a net inflow because of the medium and short-term funding that we're obtaining from the banks to do good business. So overall, really, a very, very strong set of results, a nice, healthy balance sheet.
Yeah, emerging markets are getting back into the good times. There is a lot of money coming into emerging markets, and we are hoping that South Africa will attract its fair share of investment. And all emerging market developing economies needs outside foreign investment to grow. We are not that developed to create our own resources to invest in development, in infrastructure, etc. I think our political spectrum is getting more and more fair, natural, and right. And I think it's a great change that we've seen from the last election. And I think it's healthy, it's good for the country, and it's good for business in the country. I think we're going to be more centric because we now have a center, a ruling center, right and left, whereby the push from left and right will ensure that we remain somewhere in the middle, which is good for us as citizens, good for us as businesses. EOH, today it's large. We are the biggest technology organization in Africa. And the most important thing, and you've seen it through the presentation, is that we are really connected to the society we service. We are involved in so many things, and we are very much relevant to the development of our society, to the development of our economy, and for the well-being of us, the people in our country and wherever else we operate. We are healthy financially. In spite of our size, we are managing, we work hard on it to keep the entrepreneurial spirit of the business going. It's very easy to fall into the trap of starting to work with rules and regulations and manuals and procedures and forget that what drives our business is people, and we are well aware of it. We're watchful of it. Yes, we need to have governance. We are a listed company. We are a large business. But at the same time, we need to ensure that our entrepreneurial spirit is still there, is still what drives the organization. We've launched our what we call the Job Creation Challenge, where we challenge all businesses in South Africa to take 3% of their workforce as interns and learners. And I must admit that this initiative is going well. We've already involved probably around 15,000 young people, whether we've done it through what EOH does, and we took about 2,000 of these young people in the last few years into the business. And a lot of businesses are really coming to the party. The people that are dealing with it are running out. We're adding people all the time to just respond to all the queries and all the needs for us to help support and share our experiences with other businesses. The strategy for growth will not change. I think we're doing exactly what we've done in previous years. We don't get up once every week or two, or month or two, and say, now we're changing the strategy. Now we're driving that. Now we've got a new value system. Now we've got a new approach to customers. Now we've got a new set of slides or products, etc. We continue to grow. We grow in all directions. The growth is given to the business itself. The center facilitates, but every part of the business has got its own growth strategy. What are they going for? What new product? What new territories? What new services? And that way, we are able to sustain the growth in spite of our size. And we always get asked, and sorry if somebody thought of asking this question, I'm going to give the answer up front, is that we've been asked, how can you continue to grow with this size of the business? The reason, the simple reason, is that our growth is not driven from the center. Every part of the business, and there are smaller parts of the business, those small parts can grow at 10 or 20 or 30 or 40% because of their size. The aggregation of it all is the growth of EOH.